Good evening. This is the February 19th, 2020 meeting of the Laconia Conservation Commission. I'm Dean Anson.
Deb Williams.
Lisa Moran.
Mike Foot.
Ashley Ruprecht, Conservation Planner Technician.
Okay, we have a quorum, and we're going to start off with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we'll change the order of the agenda here to start with 9 Drummer Trail.
Thank you. I'm Phil Brouillard here for the Vezina Trusts that own the property. Basically, what I would propose to do for tonight's presentation to minimize me talking about what I know about and what my soil scientist Jessica knows about is I'm going to explain the situation to you, which I'm sure you have heard many, many times before. This has to do with basically properties over in South Down that were approved under the prior wetlands buffer that required 30 feet, and then the ordinance was changed to 50 feet, and obviously we're having trouble, we can't meet the 50 feet, so we can sort of meet the 30 feet, and we're seeking a CUP to be able to do that. I'm sure you have heard this to your blue in the face before. What we have in the first sheet is an existing condition plan. And if you look at the existing condition plan, the only buildable area is this little piece that's too small. Obviously, right here, it says based on the 50 foot, just this little tiny sliver. So what we are proposing is to honor the 30 foot original 30 foot thing for the CUP. And then what we're doing is we're putting a 10 foot wide building maintenance buffer that is built with friendly plantings that to preserve and protect the wetlands. So this first plan is just the existing conditions showing the wetlands, showing the small piece. The second one is our proposal. This is a modest home. It's 30 by 48. It has built-in deck, and it has a small, just a parking area here and driveway. We have tried to be sensitive to the fact that the building will only end up with 12.79% of lot coverage and with a 10-foot low-impact landscape buffer. The buffer will have erosion control, landscape, shrubs, silk socks, and basically we're proposing a very modest home. So that being said, we have proposed this buffer, and if I'm going to have Jessica, who designed the buffer, in conjunction with some criteria set out by Ashley. We have tried to follow those criteria to come up with this 10-foot buffer. So if you would, Jessica.
Good evening, all. I am Jessica Bailey. I am a certified wetland scientist and registered soil scientist apprentice with the New Hampshire Board of Licensure and Certification. As Phil has mentioned, it was through the recommendation to create a buffer to help alleviate stresses on the wetland system. We have put together a wetlands planting plan. It's all to be accomplished within the 30-foot adjacent upland of the northern boundary of the delineated wetland. I have outlined a significant list of proposed species, and the reason is over the last several years, 10, 12, where I have been able to touch base with the landscape that has been hired to, finish other projects. They had problems at the local nurseries, and we're not talking about Lowe's or Home Goods, but even down in Concord and Cameron's over in Farmington. It's usually where I send folks. They have a very large selection of native plant species. These are all native plant species that have known wetland indicator statuses of facultative plus, and facultative minus. They're all native, and it's a large list to give that landscaper and contractor some flexibility because of the nursery stock availability. It really does change depending on how other people are planting and landscaping their yards.
And obviously, we would love to answer any questions that we have. Staff has been very, very helpful with helping us with these criteria, and we want to do something that is sensitive yet allows the owner to use his property.
I'm much better when I get the big picture.
Oh, yeah, we'll get the big picture, yeah.
All of the mapping can be found on the third attachment under the agenda. It just says revised plans at the end.
Right,
So
yeah,
all of
yeah.
these plans should be-
I did bring some extra plans with me. The third sheet is the wetlands planting plan in a hard copy form.
Okay, thank you.
The first two is the existing conditions and the proposed building plans. Sometimes it is easier to see the paper copy
It's not,
and not a 10-inch screen, I agree.
This is upland, this is wetland.
this is what.
The hatched area, the diagonal hatched area is the delineated complex.
Yeah, this is the.
No, Phil.
Oh,
This-
that's the wetland.
The hatched diagonals is the wetland. The hatched horizontal lines is the allowed buildable area.
Well, we're
Well,
trying to get a
but within,
This
if
is
the
only-
buffer is approved. This is clear.
So what you're proposing is the plantings would be in this area.
On the northern boundary. It is. If you look at the compass.
It's actually along here.
He had it right.
Yep.
So within your plantings, do you intend to have any grass?
No,
Or-
I've only given suggested lists that incorporate ground cover and shrubs, knowing that there are forest and tree species in amongst the, development of South Down Shores. Those will provide ample seed sources for additional tree species to become established within the area. So I have suggested shrub species, also because shrub species give that soft edge and they provide that edge effect, which will allow the birds, the migratory, the songbirds, and to hide into the shrubs and collect the insects and everything right in the wetland. It is, if I recall, it is a palustrin forested shrub wetland that's seasonally saturated, with the groundwaters at or below the soil surface. So it will have an active insect and bird and backyard conservation. But the shrubs will allow for a soft edge.
So just directly around the edge of the house, is that the only grass that there's going to be?
I cannot speak to that. I don't know what the future homeowners would do for landscaping.
We're not suggesting that. That was more of an area that they could, we're probably just gonna use,
I mean, here's the driveway right
Yeah.
here to get into the
It's
garage.
just, the staff suggested that there be a 10-foot area where you can go around and maintain the house and put up a ladder and
Right.
stuff. So I don't think we were planning to have lawn on this particular one. Some of the houses there kind of overdo it, make mansions, but this was designed to be a modest home for this
Maintenance, low
subdivision.
maintenance.
And low maintenance.
How do you guys really feel about the bittersweet?
Bittersweet is an invasive species.
So I see listed here on the ground
American.
cover an American
That's
bittersweet.
American. The invasive is ornamental. Thank you,
Yes.
Lisa.
Yeah.
For catching that. But that's an American bittersweet. That's not the invasive.
Something I gotta go learn.
You lost it.
No, yeah, really.
You have these
So
right
many
here
I have
too,
had
if you want them.
So, this is the house. Where's the driveway? This,
I think it's this. That's a
oh,
driveway.
and that's, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it.
Oh, yeah.
Just a small swath. And this
And
is,
ornamental bittersweet is a vine, not ground cover.
this is
Perfect.
30 feet here, is that what this line is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the wetland, is a wetland vegetated now?
It's got, as I recall, and I did look at my site photos before coming this evening, it's dominated, it's got an overstory of forest canopy, your red maples, your hemlocks, yellow beech. There's an understory of American alders and other shrub species. There are some grasses and sedges present in there, but it's certainly got sections where it's not jammed, where animals can still move and migrate through it.
Okay, so you've mapped the edge of the wetlands, both edges of the wetlands on this property. What's beyond the wetlands, say, let me just put this down, to the south, or south?
The south of the property,
Well,
Is there a road that goes through, or they're proposed?
It's like another lot.
there is a lot to the left of the property, and there's lots behind the property.
it's all developed, though. There's houses all the way around
So that's someone else's driveway.
it. It's not a significant wetland system. It's just a
Well-
hull of a lot, and everybody else has been draining into it all these years. We're just trying to make some use of it. Everyone else has gone to town.
So what's the source of water for this?
Mike, wanna see it?
I can't say.
I mean, do you think it's precipitation, mainly precipitation? Or is it, here's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out, if I could not, sorry. I'm trying to figure out if this is the wetland that is going through succession is going to become a forested area.
Well,
It's already forested.
Right.
It-
But
it-
is
it's a glorified drainage ditch for everything else, basically. If you look and see,
Every other house that's around.
there's
it.
there's a header across Dummer Trail, so all the properties on the other side are draining into this.
You
And
do
it-
realize this is the outlet.
Okay, so, right, but it's coming from the top and going through, so it's.
And there is a culvert underneath the recreational trail. the trail that is to the rear of the parcel is the common space, the recreational trail as developed and things. There is a culvert underneath there, and the system continues upstream, up the flow, direction, in this case, westerly.
And I mean, the road, there's a culvert that goes right in there and feeds the wetland and goes through.
So does this lot slope down to the wetland?
Phil he's just slightly backwards on this one. This wetland's sloping down towards Drummer Trail. The water, the hydrological water within this wetland that's giving it the functions and hydric soils and dominance of hydrophytic vegetation is draining into the catch basin, outlets underneath Drummer Trail, and continues down towards Lake Winnipesaukee. The conveyance system of that, I cannot attest to.
Right. But the lot itself, like when you have your building, will it slope, does it slope towards Drummer, or is it perfectly flat, or back
No,
towards?
this house is
Is up against.
is up on a half knoll, per se,
And
because
and
the other
walking-
side of it's already developed with
the walking
houses.
trail, yeah.
So the back side is higher than the front?
Correct.
So anything that drains from that lot is really going towards Drummer Trail and not the wetland?
It depends on how the property gets graded,
Right.
but that's also why we've added the wetland buffer to help facilitate surface water and runoff and reduce any additional loading. We've also added into the planting notes that this particular property will not be using any kinds of phosphoruses or fertilizers, just like standard water quality
Right.
notes.
Right. No, I mean, if it was developed so that it was, on the upside of
It's on
the wetlands, you could put a little berm maybe or something, but,
No, the water, the topography of the lot as it is, obviously the wetland is the depressional bottom side of the curvatures. It will only be receiving just slightly more than half the side of the roof line as designed on this house of roof runoff.
Which is
And a
modest compared to some of the other homes there.
in many shoreline applications, we use rain gardens as a
Right.
stormwater management technique.
right.
Mike, do you want to see this picture?
I showed it to him.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Planning, Zoning, and Conservation Department memorandum dated 2/12. And the conservation comments say to add a note to have silt socks placed at 20 feet wetland buffer and indicate this on a plan. Do you know what that means,
So
actually?
20 feet because it's, the maintenance buffer is 10 feet within a 30-foot buffer.
So you want to put it on the side away from the house?
Behind the plantings
I've
before
put-
the wetland.
Okay.
I've added 2 lines of silt fence. One is offset from the edge of the delineated wetland by 3 feet to ensure that there's no impact towards the delineated wetland, even accidental, just a way to keep everybody away from the edge. Then on the adjacent side of the proposed buffer is another line of silt sock. That would be the first line of defense while the lot is under construction for the construction of the residential structure.
And when you complete construction, are you gonna take the silt socks up?
Standard protocol is once the site is stabilized, all sediment and erosion control devices may be removed.
Okay, maybe.
I haven't spec'd out what type of silt sock to use. I haven't spec'd out whether it to be a temporary, a self-decomposing, or a long-term silt sock.
Okay, could you?
I mean, you know, what is it? The typical construction of a residential home should be able to be completed within 3 to 4 months, I would imagine. So putting the silt socks in before the start of the construction and taking them out upon completion is standard fare.
Right, but is there a possibility that you can at least leave the silt socks that are at the, I guess it's a 20-foot?
We can, and to
And plant-
incorporate, I do apologize, Mrs. Williams' comment of a berm of sort, the only suggestion that I would have would be to use a choir log, which is a coconut fiber log, and they're used for stream bank restorations. It will self-decompose, it becomes a nurse log for any kinds of seeds, and it can stay right in place.
I could run that on the outside. if
He
you want
wants
us
he wants to run it on the back side of the plantings and the front, between the plantings and the wetland buffer.
Oh, we could do
Here, this one.
Yep, I
This-
know.
This one here, not this one.
Exactly,
just the back one.
the back
Just
side.
the back one, plant it and,
We
or
would,
even just,
we wouldn't plant the choir log, we would allow the choir log to act as a silt sock, a protective layer, being that the primary wetland, the primary sediment and erosion control is between the house and the planting zone,
right,
and we can install
It's a
choir
wall,
log,
It's a wall, like Mexico.
right.
that way it would
Except
stay in
this one's gonna
place.
be built.
Build a wall.
This one's gonna be built.
It
That
stays
was a
in
hoax.
place and it creates
Yeah.
a little bit of a bump,
Right.
and it becomes a nurse log
Right.
in retrospect.
We can specify
good.
that change if you like.
What do you think?
This is the last lot on Drummer Drive.
I'm not an expert on South Down, so I don't know that. I think it's the
It looks
last
like, it
one in
looks
that
fairly
area,
much
yeah. That I know of.
in that area. You get the turbo and stuff.
Got What'd you do?
Cut myself.
Nice, that wasn't a very good idea. I just wanted to see where this.
I was trying to get the topo on it, but it's not coming up.
I just wanted to make sure if I knew where I was. Okay, anybody have any other questions or comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, any other suggestions? Okay,
Looks like they,
Well, I just
Looks
want to
like
be,
they've taken
I have a
care.
quick question. I just want to make sure I'm clear that there was not, besides the coconut fiber log, to leave it in between the wetland and the plantings,
Permanently.
to allow it to go through its natural course in succession. Dean, did you want a specific note or anything on when the
Temporary construction
first,
one.
first line of silt sock should be removed, can be removed? Or can we say that the sediment and erosion control devices to be removed after completion and once the site is stabilized?
I think
Yeah.
That
that's
sounds
okay.
reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other? Lisa, any comments?
No, I'm not making the motion, but
No,
I'll
I
vote
said-
on one.
Okay, do we need a motion?
No,
I think we have the motion to support the application
Okay,
on the conditions discussed.
okay, so anybody want to make a motion
I'll make,
to support the staff comments with the exception of adding a nurse log? What do you want to call
It's
it?
a coconut fiber.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we accept the plans as presented with the addition of the coconut fiber log, and the other suggestions that were put forth by the planning board.
but we want the coconut fiber log to, to stay in place.
Right.
Permanently, and it will go through its natural,
Would we put a note on the plan? to
I
that?
will,
Yeah.
because it's a permanent,
So that the builder can see where it's supposed to go, which one, we don't want it in the 10-foot, we don't want it on the 10-foot side, we want it on the 20-foot side.
I'm still gonna suggest having that installed 3 feet off the edge of the delineated wetland.
Okay.
Because it's still allowing that protection from accidental impacts.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
second motion.
All right, so Lisa seconded the motion. Any other comments? Okay, I just have one. When would you start construction?
Not sure. We're going to the meeting in April, for the April meeting. So we're not gonna get approved till April anyway, so we wouldn't be able to get a building permit till after that.
So the onset of the growing season,
And then
May.
And then we've put a footprint down of the house, but it hasn't been designed by an architectural designer yet.
Okay, but the planning comments here said, recommend attendance to the March 3rd planning board meeting. You're not going to that one, you're going to the April instead?
That's
Right.
correct. That
April
was
5th.
That was the earliest, because we didn't
We
have any
wanted
other
to come
concerns
here.
at TRC. Everything was addressed
Okay.
at that meeting.
Okay,
But it just seemed, because we were coming here, there's no particular giant rush on this, but we wanted to make sure if you had any suggestions and we needed to come back or something, that we had enough time to do that before the meeting.
okay. Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you for your attention to detail.
You have another set.
You're welcome to keep them, or we can recycle them.
Either way, if we already have copies of these, I'm sure, 10 deep.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
you.
Guys,
Good night.
You too.
I'd keep that package together if you want to keep this one with that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm sure she'll take it.
got plenty.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so let's go back to the agenda and discuss the minutes from February 5th.
I move we accept the minutes of February 5th, 2020 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, any comments? No comments?
No comment.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes, thank you. Okay, so that brings us down to, we just did new business, so now we're gonna do old business. World Water Day planning.
So I took a look at this, and I guess are we thinking of actually having an event, or we're just doing outreach? And I'm wondering,
Totally up to you guys. That was the list that I had mentioned at the prior
Yeah.
meeting. And so it was things that I had pulled from various websites
Sure.
and information, so I just wanted to get it out to you guys so you guys could see it.
I would say, this is just my suggestion, just knowing, just looking at my schedule, and March is coming up. I mean, I'm thinking maybe we could post some of this stuff on the Laconia links, is that what it is?
Yeah.
And that would be good enough. No, I'm just saying, you know, like, we could find out if somebody's doing, like, Extension might be doing a training or something, you know, provide a list of species that are drought tolerant for New England, and the fact sheet. Instructions on the DIY rain garden, did you have a fact sheet on that, or, I mean, I sent you a
Yeah.
manual that was different than.
Yeah, and I talked with Steve too after I sent him the recommendations. He
Yeah.
said it's super helpful, like not just for that last application that you guys had
Yeah.
recommended it to, but he was like, any project, this is really great. So I'm sure I could work with Nancy to get some information like that I've put in that notice into the links.
Well, yeah, and could you post it, like, is there a place on it, I can't remember, I'm sorry, the website, do we have a Conservation Commission page on the website? We could post this stuff on the Conservation Commission page, the documents?
Yeah, we have a resources tab.
Okay,
So I think I could put something together and put together like a publisher. I think that she uses either Word or Publisher, and she takes the information. So if it's helpful, I could pull stuff together, put together just like a rough draft. You guys can weigh in on
Yeah.
whether or not you like it, and then I can get it to Nancy. Probably would need feedback before the next meeting. Just I don't know how much time she needs.
Usually it's, like, you could even do it earlier that week, I don't know how much space she needs, she's
Right.
often printing stuff for me that same week, because it's on Friday, if I get it to her early in the week,
Yeah.
it'll appear.
Yeah, I think she did email me like Wednesday saying to get stuff for the Friday. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's up to you guys. I figured it is a cold time of year, and maybe if you want to do the events when it's nice and warm out, it gives us more opportunity to do things outside and
Incorporated in, yeah, well, I'm just thinking
Right.
timing-wise, because I'm thinking that's gonna come on us pretty quick before we know it, because it's already 20th of February.
it's flying by.
What's double dishes? Double dip dishes?
What is it?
Double
It's in the
dip
bulletin,
dishes.
third one down.
Oh, so if you have a two basin sink,
Oh, yeah.
fill one with hot soapy water and one with cold
With
water
the
and
rinse.
So rather than keeping the
Running
faucet
your
on
faucet.
while you're washing your dishes, you double dip them.
Okay.
I'm wondering too about, I don't know what Wes's input is from this, because it says in the minutes he was going to be,
Yeah, he reached out to some people at the school, and I guess they don't really have the capacity to do anything with the commission, and so it
Well-
kind of seems like a little bit of a dead end. He said he'd ask around a little bit more, but I think as far as the high school is concerned, that they don't really have the bandwidth like that time of year to do anything. So probably based on the curriculum that they have going on.
well, I was just wondering about, like, reaching out to, because I think he's in the middle school now, and I'm at the elementary school, so how much water, that could be something I could talk to a couple of the teachers about in the next week or so, and just say, hey, you know, the Conservation Commission's identified this, World Water Day, and would you want to promote with your kids?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely, I mean, even if it's just like an announcement, because we put stuff on, like, Monday was World Kindness Day. So, I mean, we do talk about certain things like that. And definitely, you know, we can do anything from something little to, you know,
Yeah,
in gym class, maybe they could play a pretend, a game, about water usage or whatever.
right, and, or something like asking, hey kids, or hey parents, pick 2 things off this list on Sunday
Right.
for March 22nd,
Because we
and
could
pay
put
attention
this
to.
on our website, our school
Yeah.
website too.
Yeah, so why don't we do that, then I'll reach out to the elementary school, you can reach out to the middle school
Okay.
about getting something posted about the how much water gain.
Because the science teachers could, mention it. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, unless somebody wants to make it a huge thing.
Yeah, and then we can
Play
post.
how much water, we could do that in, science class.
Right. And then we could post the other two things. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No, it's
interrupt.
okay. If you guys, end up doing that, or just let me know what resources you plan to use and
Sure.
what
Yeah.
schools, and
Yep.
if I could get like an approximate number of how many students, just a ballpark, and that could be put into the links too, like the Conservation Commission is reaching out to students
Help to educate
Yeah.
300 students
Just
this
a
week.
little bit, 'cause
Three do it.
if we have just a diverse amount of information about the day, and okay, we're, here are some activities that are going on, and
Sure.
And how
that's
much water, and I know that this comes in a bill, so I know this has an answer. How much water does the school use?
Okay.
You know what I mean? And just as I know it comes in a bill, they get charged for it, you don't have to know how much it is, but, just have an idea. If you call the water guys there, can tell you what the high school or the middle school or
Yeah.
anyone uses and bring it home to them, Think of that,
It'd be hard to identify, though, I think, where they were used. I don't think they have individual meters on different functions.
I
Yeah,
bet
one
they
for-
do. I bet they do. They've got to get something in the business office. And
Huh.
I'm.
And it all gets charged in the sewer anyway, so they don't actually charge for
Well-
water, they charge for how much sewer you use.
But I just meant for the kids to know, like, is it in the bathrooms that it's the most water, or is it in the
Yeah, yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you meant
kitchen, or
by
is it-
school.
No, that's what I'm saying. It'd be hard to know that. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess while you guys do that, I'll try to pull together some sort of content to put into the links. I can pass it out to you guys, like virtually.
Right,
And
yep.
if you guys have anything to add, is everyone in on the theme of, I guess where I started to go just because of the climate change theme that the UN had said, was with conserving water like in your home and the drought tolerant landscaping, but is there other areas related to water? Like I'll probably put something in there about the water sampling that we do out on Paugus too, and say,
And
know,
how
did you
important the
know
water,
that- do you
clean
know-
water is to us.
Yeah, do you know where your water comes from?
Where your
From
drinking water
Paugus
comes
Bay?
from.
Yeah, right, there's the quiz.
Yeah.
Well, I
The
think
kids that have worked with me know all know that. You do.
Good.
It used to be a big thing.
I think the other thing is if we can talk to the water department to find out what kinds of chemicals they cannot remove from the drinking water. So when we take it out of Paugus Bay, now we have to, run it through the
Do we really want to be telling terrorists that? I'm kidding.
Potential terrorists.
no,
They're just children, they aren't actually terrorists.
Not yet.
Well,
Not
some
yet.
of them
They're-
are.
they're in prep.
Terrorists can read the links.
So it would be things like,
Salt.
if you have extra medicine,
Yeah.
do not put it down the toilet.
Right.
If you have extra drugs, the extra drugs, if they're
And
controlled drugs, take them to the police station.
any kind. And I bet there's already a printout, information of that somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons of infographics.
But I think if you ask the water department, they can tell you what they can't remove. It's amazing what they can't remove.
Yeah.
Birth control pills.
Yep, birth control pills,
Hormones.
like pharmaceutical, or,
Really?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of stuff.
Yep. So, just so that we can make people aware of, okay, anyway.
Well, that's what Jessica, I don't know if you were eavesdropping on Jessica's conversation. She has a brand-new water filter,
Yeah, I did hear.
and she was saying it indicates at .06 parts per million of whatever substance she didn't identify. It alarms her to change the filter, and when she tested tap water, it was testing out as 0.3, 0.2, like it was, so the tap water was well above what her filter thought was safe.
Wow.
You know what would be kind of cool is if, and maybe like the summer months when the city's busier or whatever, I was thinking, I know we have like flyers downstairs. We used to have the flyers of, how much the lakes are worth to us. And, if we ever had like a direction pamphlet with rain garden, which I'm sure there's some out there, but it would be kind of cool to set up a kiosk maybe in the main lobby out here instead of being downstairs, because people aren't going
No,
to see it.
I would like to see us, if we could put, don't we have a kiosk at, the boat ramp?
Yes, we have that needs to be taken care of, and we also have one at the dump. Right?
So, yeah, you have to physically
No,
walk
no,
up
that's the transfer station.
in the transfer station.
That's what I mean.
You have to physically walk up to them. It's like, that one's kind of a little bit further.
Oh, it is away?
Well, it isn't, it's the one that's for the, like, the pollinator plantings, that's the same one, is that the one that's right off the parking lot, yeah? Last I saw that, actually, too, that looked a little faded, I'd like to work with them to,
Okay.
but, yeah, so that
But we
one,
can do that on
yeah,
Earth Day?
Earth Day.
I'm
right?
just mentioning it so that, because
Right.
it was in my mind at this moment. Yeah, but I think the kiosk get down by the water, because if people are physically getting in and out and walking around
Right.
there.
Right.
Which one, where's that located?
Well,
Messer Street.
it's not quite there. I mean,
Oh.
the framework is there, but we need a new board, because the board that's on there was just a board that was put up by, PP&L. PP&L, is that, no.
Eversource?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Eversource, that's okay.
Eversource, yeah, I was like, what is PP&L?
Eversource.
We have a friend there.
That's funny. Well, when I worked on that project, the Messer Street
Yeah,
substation
right.
rebuild, and I had mentioned, I talked to Krista at the time, and I was like, "Are you guys planning to do anything?" I had an information sheet to put up on there,
Right.
and I think, oh yeah, I had the contractors put up a slab,
Yeah.
just like
It's just a,
plywood,
right.
temporarily, so we could post information about the project. 'cause
right,
people
and that's
would
what's
know.
up there now, so
Yeah.
it's been a long process
Because I
coming
was
in.
supposed to take that off and put a different piece that,
Do you have the piece? Because
not
when
anymore.
I asked Krista, she said that she didn't have
The
she
board.
had some like future plans for it, so that's why we didn't do
Because
anything at the time.
Some of us were in charge of it.
so, okay, but,
Okay.
so if I,
That's a goal.
all
Well,
right.
no, believe me, it's been a goal for several
Yeah.
years, because I was in charge of the lake host down there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, like, I had a group of students, and that's been an ongoing project for
Oh, really?
like 3 years now. And we finally got it up, but we didn't, and we actually painted a board to put up there, but we never got the board up there, and
Do you have the stuff ready to go?
I don't have the board anymore because it
Okay,
was.
I'll get a board. I'll get a board. What
We have to-
color do you want it painted?
No, we have to figure out first what kind of board. Make sure.
Well, yeah, I was gonna
have-
get like,
I'm sorry, I have a catalog from the Treetop Company or something like that, it's what we did the kiosks out at Gunstock, so maybe they've got parts for kiosks. I can look through it.
okay, but,
Yeah.
all right, so,
Because we may
and then
even,
what, okay,
we may want to put like a piece of plexiglass over it or something. So
Oh, yeah.
that people don't rip things.
Absolutely everything, but even then the wind will rip it off.
yep.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And people will, rip
Yeah.
it off.
So what we did at Gunstock, we got something called Lucan, or it's a high quality.
Yeah, it's loose there.
Yeah, so you can get that, and you can also get the little brochure holders and all that stuff.
Did you make your own, or did it come all together?
The most recent ones, I think we bought it, but I need to look through this catalog, because they just sent me like a highfalutin catalog that I think you can
Perfect.
get accessories. I'll have to look at it again, though.
Okay, so if you could look at it,
Or even send us the name of the company and we can look online too.
Sure.
That would be great.
I think it's called the Treetop.
okay, the other thing is, I had
We did.
A,
Timber
um,
Rose of Vermont was the one
a
we did.
diagram that showed
Timber
how
Rose.
we use water. You know, what percent of the water, and I will see if I can find that, because I think the largest usage of water is agricultural.
Oh,
So
in New Hampshire?
I'll check and see,
Where did I just see that?
okay. I also have the brochure from the New York Thruway Authority that talks about stormwater. Now, do we want to talk about stormwater at all on,
No.
For World Water Day.
Well,
we have
water
to
and
keep, we have to
climate
keep a
change.
small enough vision.
Water and
I
climate.
feel like stormwater will be playing a pretty large role very soon. We as in myself and Krista from DPW have been attending MS4 meetings, which Laconia,
We're not MS4.
we are not
Not
MS4.
yet. We're
but
coming.
Concord
Are
and
we?
South, and it's more of just to get, we want to be in a good spot for if that time ever comes,
Mhm.
because
It will.
The beginning steps are pretty simple of customizing this collateral that's literally already made for you to help with public awareness of stormwater issues with leaving your dog waste on the ground and not picking it up, or leaf collection if you're piling your leaves next to the stream on your property. And
Or if your neighbor piles their leaves next to your stream on your property.
so I feel like for this event, I probably wouldn't talk about it so much. Maybe as we get near spring cleanup, we can put something in the links about spring cleanup awareness and that type of thing. But I think coming soon we'll be pushing more collateral out for stormwater stuff.
So what is the city's position on Facebook pages?
My understanding is there was a Facebook, but there were some not necessarily issues, but it, with the page for conservation, it wasn't, if you post something, it kind of can come off like, oh, well, we're in support of this organization or this contractor and a
If you're
promotion
reposting
thing.
stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know when or why, but the page was removed. So I haven't necessarily.
It was, I think, also because Evan set it up, you need to identify it with the person, and he probably identified it with his own email address, and it's probably why it came down to.
And it was, actually, I think Scott set it up.
Oh, all right.
And it had a funny name. It was like Con, C-O-N, Servation. Or maybe it was Conservation.
Gotcha.
So it was like two words. So maybe if we're allowed to have a Facebook page and you are the only person that can post on it, do we want to have it?
I don't know. It leaves us open to a lot of comments, and
Okay.
could be negativity. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's up
There's-
to you guys if you guys feel like it would be a good platform to post about.
There are several, like, I Love Laconia, Laconia Connections, there's like 3 or 4
Right.
Facebook pages already, that if any one of us wanted to
Soggy, yep.
forward information on using that, identifying ourselves as just saying, you know, I'm a member, but I'm posting this just as myself, because I think it might be interest or whatever. I think that's the caveat there.
Alright, if you guys change your mind, you can always
Okay.
pursue it.
Yes, I think the town of Guilford, I think, actually, I read something, this was a while ago, so I could be wrong, but I think they've got, like, prohibition on a Facebook page or something, too, because like, in the
Prohibition?
policies. Yeah, because you could be releasing information about personnel and all that, and they didn't.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, because if it's linked to my page, there's
Well, but just even, you know, if
pictures of
you,
my granddaughter.
It just gets, it gets
Yeah.
muddy, I think.
you know, or if you
As
post.
opposed to the link on
Yeah.
the
Right.
city page.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Okay, we'll let the city be in charge of it. That makes more sense, seriously. Okay. All right, anything else on World Water Day?
I've got something connected, and I don't know where I should mention it. Maybe other business. Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to the Pearly Pond update. Actually,
Nice sign.
we don't really have any comment on the current plan for Pearly Pond. I talked to Scott Myers, and he suggested we wait until the state reviews the application that has been submitted, and they give us their comments, and then once those comments have been received, then he would prefer that we wait, instead of commenting on a permit application that went to the state already, wait until the state reacts to that, and if they have comments, then we could comment.
Okay.
So, that's,
The state's received the application and they haven't, so the first step is an acceptance, just confirming that they have all the materials, and there was a notice that came in that they were missing one of the requirements for, I think it was avoidance and minimization. I could be wrong, but basically they were missing one of the check boxes in the packet for things they had to include, so they have some time to submit that, but that's the latest. I'll let you know
Okay.
if I see anything else.
Okay. So we'll wait until, and when the state submits comments, do you get a copy of the comments? You,
I
the
get
planning?
copies of all of their decisions along the way, so once the city does square away having all of the application materials, they'll send a second notice that says, okay, now we have everything we need, if they do. And then they have, it depends on the permit for how many days that they have, I think probably somewhere 30 or 40 days to review the whole package, and then they send out a decision.
Okay,
So I'll let you know when I get the
Okay.
notices as I.
that'd be great. Thank you. Okay. All right, so the next item on the agenda is a rules of procedure review. I did not really,
Well, I looked it over a little bit. To say it's, the time I looked it over, I was like, oh my God. So section 2, purpose and intent. I just wondered if it lists the Conservation Commission is established for the proper utilization and protection of natural resources and for the protection of watershed resources of the city. The commission holds us following responsibilities. I'm just wondering if we have more areas of interest than are defined in that section.
You could certainly list more. That is directly from RSA 36-8(2).
Right, and then, down in section 3, 1.1.2, the original chair will be appointed by the mayor for a term of 3 years. The second term chair shall be selected annually by the members from one of their other members. Is that how we do it? So we select, I couldn't remember, we select our own chair, the mayor doesn't, it was just the first time?
Correct.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
Just have an annual meeting.
Right.
I don't know that that's been happening.
Not for a long time.
not for a lot of,
So that's why I put like insert month whenever you guys want to do that. Like,
I would say, let's, instead of a month, can we say an annual meeting that shall happen within the quarter of, like, the third quarter or something, rather than trying to get us down to a month? Or the second,
Mostly, but what's wrong with just January?
because we might not have a quorum or whatever, or for, may have, I'm just trying to, or may not have, that's why if we give ourselves at least 3 meetings, or 6 meetings to choose from.
even if you did put, I guess my fear with saying quarter is that you'd slip by because it'd be like, oh, next meeting, next
Like-
meeting, next
like
meeting,
it
next
has.
meeting. If you do say January and then you don't have quorum, or the meeting gets postponed,
Do it at the next one.
there's,
Right.
yeah, that you could do it at the next one. There's a waiver at the end that says waiver, so you guys could meet and say, we're gonna waive the requirement of January because we didn't have quorum, we're gonna do it in February.
Perfect.
Okay, if you think it'll work, okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that a month. Do you want to say January?
mm-hmm.
Okay, like January?
So that's
Well,
next year?
what business do we, what business do we do at the annual meeting that, what I'm just thinking of is like the budget or any of that other stuff, does that make most sense to have it in January? Or are there business items that we should take care of at an annual meeting that fit in with other things in the city?
Well, the budget came out last month. That's when we got the draft budget,
Preliminary.
right?
The last meeting that we had was like final, like you have any changes and you would need to know them then. So I think January should be sufficient time for me to get input on the budget and for you guys to select a chair and vice chair.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask, I wasn't trying to,
Yeah, the only constraint I think would be the budget, and
okay.
city council approves that in June for July, so.
So then, item, again, section 3, item 1.1.6. This is a new one.
Roman numeral 3?
Yes, this is on page 4. It's the highlighted area. It's one of the things that Ashley had put in there. We had talked a little bit about this before. Has the authority to sign and provide comments on applications and materials on behalf of the commission, such as the Department of Environmental Services permit applications. Well, right now, we're all happy and fine with Dean, because we know Dean, and we have a sense of, you know, and Deb too, because we trust them, but I'm not sure that we want to give any one person an authority like that without, because then it's kind of after the fact. We find out about it after the fact and it's gone. And, you know, maybe one of us has some input that's actually pretty relevant to that application, or, you know, maybe, you know, even if it were me, say I had a good buddy, and I'd be hard pressed to say, you know, well, no emotion went into passing this, you know, like, I'm just saying, I'm not, I know why you want to do it, but I'm also a little reluctant to say, I don't want to give that much power to one person.
Is there a way we can phrase it so that
Maybe it needs to be 2 people. I mean,
maybe on a case-by-case basis, has the authority to sign and provide comments on applications?
so why don't we just,
On the council's approval?
on the council's
With
approval?
the wait,
Commission?
no, with the commission's,
What were you gonna say, Ashley? You're trying to,
So, later in section, page 7, section 8, 2.
yeah,
It goes more into how exactly that process works, and it says the chair would work with the planning director. It has his actual title, to decipher whether or not the application
yeah.
needs to go before the full commission, or if the
My-
chair is sufficient. I get that it's more, you're talking more about having an issue with the individual person if Dean was to leave.
Well, the note I wrote in the margin on that is do not allow.
What?
So I followed through with you on that. I read through it, and I just said, this is just my own personal, I guess, maybe, but we have a commission for a reason, and we all have input, and I'm not, I think if we had a terrible backlog of applications, because they were just never getting addressed in meetings, I would say, well, we've got to fix something here, but is that the reason? Is just we want to move things along, so,
It's to expedite it
yeah.
for the applicant and to make meetings for you guys more prioritized towards the items on the
Well, yeah,
agenda
and-
versus having to discuss someone replacing a document.
Well, my personal opinion is that we shouldn't be expediting things for the comfort of the applicant. We're here for a reason, and we're a commission for a reason, and because we have combined knowledge, not all sitting with one person, no matter how much we respect the knowledge of that one person. That's my 2 cents, so.
I just put it in there because it's a process that's already been happening.
Right.
And I
I
feel
know.
like there's nothing to actually back that up.
Right, there's no-
So it was more of a protection
Does,
because it's been happening. So if you guys don't want it, it can be removed.
or can we put in here that that authority can be voted on yearly along with the elections? Do you know what I mean?
Like
Is it-
along at the annual.
Or does that make it too,
well, I think then it becomes, yeah, I mean, I think we have to have a process. You know, if the process is one person can do it, then that's what everybody votes and that's fine. But if, I don't think we can say, oh, we went back and forth, 2017, that was the year we only had one person signing. But 2018, we decided we want everybody signing. I think, no, I'm just
that
saying.
protects you though?
Yeah, but
I
that's,
understand.
that's not the way that the applications are set up, so that the chairperson or vice chair of the Conservation Commission signs in a box.
Yeah, but-
And I think that,
Should be after discussion. I'm sorry, I know, you want to finish, and I just.
I
want to-
know, you,
I know.
anyway,
It's
so,
terrible I do that.
so I think that we have not had an official, yes, this is okay. It's just Deb and I have been doing it, and typically, the applications that we're looking at are, there's ice dam damage and we have to replace 3 piles in kind. You know, that's, and to keep these meetings from being, 3 hours or 4 hours long, I mean, we could do that too. But the other part of it is that we only have a certain time frame within which we get to respond. So there are some things that are, there are some applications that come in that are pretty simple, cut and dried, and rather than take up everybody's time looking at whether we want to allow replacement of 3 pilings, I mean, we're going to replace them, and, I mean, the thing we could do is we could have a standard set of comments with, that would go with any application to replace pilings that were damaged by the ice. And,
So I would suggest we have a synopsis. If you got 3 applications in a night, we have a synopsis in our agenda, what the application is for and the address. And we have and we can, in the agenda, can say, do we move to approve to have Dean or Deb sign these, or do we want to pull one out for review because it's something we think we should review? We could do that at the beginning of each meeting. It could be that we just decide, yes, we're gonna have them sign it tonight, and then you're cleared because we voted on it.
At that point, it would be a longer process to do it that way, to have it on the agenda, because by then I've already received it, and I'm putting it on the agenda to have you guys vote, to have you guys vote it without everyone looking at it. It would be faster to just have the entire commission look at it that night. Does that make sense?
mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
but, oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking, no, like Lisa, I mean, if it were just at the end of our agenda and we just said, these are, standard applicants that we are gonna sign on tonight, and just list them so and then if somebody had a question, I don't know if we need to look, I don't know.
So what's a time frame that we have to do the review for, for ice damage replacing kind?
So it comes to us, it comes to the commission before it goes to city clerks. So there is no initial time in the beginning, because you're the first in line on like a PBN.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it. There's the time where there's a limited amount of space is if the commission wants to input feedback or intervene on an application. You only have 10 days from the time it was stamped at the city clerks. So that's kind of where you have to be faster in a response. I know
And if the whole thing was hanging right there, and then for whatever reason you didn't have a quorum, or there was a snowstorm and the meeting got canceled, if you're holding those things waiting, it could slow down the process.
I know we had discussed that instead of doing it like ahead of time and having it on the agenda as, here's the project and does the commission approve Dean or Deb signing, we had discussed when I met with you was putting together a list of, for afterwards, after you sign it, and at the next meeting, it would be like, these applications have been signed, this is the address, this is the description of the project, and
Yep.
why it was signed off. I know it's an after the fact.
And it's too late. I don't want that
Wait
responsibility.
a minute. Let
I thought
Let
she was
Ashley-
done.
let
I thought she
Ashley
was done.
finish.
I thought she was.
So, I know we had just because if you were to do it the other way, it would take longer, like I said. You'd have to vote on expediting it, which is, the applicant would just be able to come in, or the application would be able to be looked at that first meeting. So rather than having a vote on it and then signing it.
Okay.
Because if you guys vote no, I don't want Dean or Deb to sign it, and I want us all to look at it, perhaps go to another meeting?
Does it have to be a vote, or could it just be, is there a discussion that needs to happen on any of these? I know,
I have
I
to-
know.
And I talked with Dean, and we even wanna, Dean Trefethan, and we wanna make sure with legal that we be even, like, able to give people that ability.
Right.
I did have a conference with, DES was one of the presenters, and they did mention that other commissions are doing that. They're selecting certain people within the commission to sign on the commission's behalf. So it sounds like it's a practice that a lot of places are adopting, but before it's even incorporated, if you guys want it to be incorporated, that's something that we need to check the box on and make sure that that's permitted, because the way the regulation states, it says that the commission is signing it, and the commission is waiving its right. So can one person have that power?
So I think that one of the additional layers is that the director of the planning department also takes a look at these applications.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Or
so,
their designee, which is me.
right.
Right.
So if there's a project that you think should be reviewed by the commission, then that's what we do.
Well, I would consult with you.
Right.
You and I would
But if,
call or chat and say, here are the ones I have. What do you think?
So, well, the other thing that concerns me is and it's just out there, how much the city council, and so, this is a pro-development community, pro-business community, pro-development. And, we're gonna be asking these people to go up against the people who are paying their bills, to be the gatekeepers on projects that maybe shouldn't get a green light without review of people who have some knowledge. And I know, that's why I say, we trust both you and Deb, because you've been on the commission a long time, and you've got a wealth of knowledge, and we trust you that you have consistently towed a line of concern for the environment. But it also, what we're passing today isn't just gonna live in today's climate with us, it's going to be going on forward. And I just, I'm not saying I distrust our city council at all, I'm not saying that, or the mayor, but I just think that we're running down a street with blinders on about how we're gonna be treating the land use in Laconia, and I, want there to be.
Check and balance.
But this process is totally separate from.
right, this is totally,
It has nothing to do with,
You're an employee of the city. Dean Trefethan's an employee of the city.
but we would be working with the chair.
I know, I'm just saying, it sets up a power struggle I'm not willing to expose people to.
well, except that what's, so here's what happens. We get an application. Ashley calls me, or she calls Deb and says, hey, we have this application, we have a permit by notification. Can you come and take a look at it? And it's to replace piles in kind. So we go, we take a look at it, we say, okay, this is replacing piles in kind. This has nothing to do with the city council. The city council does not get this. And
And nor can a city employee sign it.
right.
I cannot sign it.
Okay, good.
So it's not, I understand what you're saying about the city council, but the city council and city employees don't sign these permit applications.
But you were saying
think-
that the review happens at the planning level. In other words, you're not the only one that signed it. Somebody at the planning level also looks at this, and
No,
that's what
no,
I'm saying.
well, what happens is Ashley calls me and says, or sends me a text and says, hey, we got this permit by notification, do you want to come in and take a look at it? I go and I take a look at it. She doesn't say, this is one that you can handle by yourself, or shouldn't be handled by you.
my impression was that you would sign it, and then before it goes anywhere, like, Dean Trefethen or somebody else also looks it over before it gets sent. That was what I thought you were implying. Okay.
No, what I, and I'm sorry, I didn't make this clear. The application would come in, and I can think of at least a couple of applications that I said, I don't want to make this decision by myself. One was because I had to recuse myself because the applicant was a friend, and another one was I thought it was more complicated than just replacing a few piles. So I said, I think we should talk about this in the commission meeting.
And
But what I was talking about was, on behalf of the commission, the chair and director of the planning department or their designee can use their discretion to have the chair sign the application without full review of the commission. So if Ashley gets an application, she looks at it and she says, Dean, come on in and take a look at it, and I come in and I take a look at it, and she says, and Dean has already looked at it and said, wait a minute, whoa, no, you can't, I don't want you to do this, I want you to take this to the commission. That's when he can intervene and say, not
So
intervene,
it kind
he
of
could make a
does-
recommendation.
It does take the power away from the chair a little bit in the event that the chair is not being as thorough. Basically, the planning, if the chair said, yeah, I wanna sign it, I'm not even gonna look at it, I could say, wait, you didn't really look at it, and here are some things that concern me. Maybe, I'm gonna actually recommend that this does go before the commission, like, if there is that issue where we're not on the same page.
And if you recommend that it goes to the commission,
then
and I disagree, and it goes to Dean, it will go before the commission. He's going to overrule me. That would be my understanding.
Yeah, get into the weird wording of using their discretion and how you interpret that.
Other thing, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. I was just, it is a slippery slope. I would think that if there was some issue between the chair and the planning director, that it would automatically just go before the commission so everyone can look at it and vet it out and say, yes, we should sign, or no, we don't support the application, the commission's not signing. That would be my take, is to go with the safer of the two. If there's some sort of issue and the whole board should look at it, then the whole board should look at it. Really, it's supposed to be an easier system to bypass replacing an in-kind dock. So,
Yeah. It's a,
I understand your concern.
what,
Because Dean may not always be here, and it may be a chair that is not as conservative.
right, what, any of us, I was gonna bring up a different point, I was
You're a
gonna
liberal.
reiterate it.
I'm
I did talk to,
independent, leave me
I
alone.
did talk to Barbara Richter today, the head of the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, the executive director. And she said, I can take a look at this for you. She goes, I am absolutely not a lawyer, but I've looked at a few of these, and I can tell you if there's stuff in there they're asking you to do that maybe like conservation, that's way above, over the heads of conservation commissions generally. Or if, and I said, or things we should be doing that aren't listed in there, and she said, I can certainly see that. She says, so I could take a look at it and just make comment, but I am absolutely not a lawyer, and I'm not making any legal judgment on any of this. She said, but I could just take a look at it for you and give you my input, if you'd like. So she did offer to do that.
Oh, I was waiting, because I thought she had. I'm waiting.
No,
was
I
waiting
did
for
not, no, this was, I didn't feel it was appropriate for me to send her anything without permission from, I didn't even know if this was if it was a not for public document, so I didn't want to forward it to her if that, we didn't have approval to do it,
I think that would be an excellent idea.
so.
I don't see any issues with it. It would be public if it was approved anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want it to be public. the document to be
I-
fully
I thought,
public in draft form.
oh, I don't think it should be public in draft form. I think once we get it ironed it out, then it should be public.
Yeah,
But we can send it to Barbara in draft form, with,
Right.
with the caveat that this is not
This is a
public in
draft.
draft,
Oh,
right,
okay.
right.
And just backing up to the issue about letting the chair and vice chair sign, and this isn't a fix, and if everyone votes to take it out, we could take it out, but if Dean does leave and we do have it in there and the new chair isn't someone that you guys do trust to do that, you can, with the commission votes to
Change
do
it.
so with majority vote, you can amend the document whenever and take that piece out of it and say, no more, you're not signing these.
I personally have faith in our chair and our vice chair, our technician, our process, and the planning director, that it'll work as it has. I understand concerns if you don't see anything, but certainly, as far as I've known these people, it would be put out there. I have faith like that.
So I have another idea, and that is, this time of year, we're not getting too many permits by notification. But let's
But
take,
in March,
in March, then the dam bursts. So let's do this, let's bring in some of those, and, talk about them and see if we're on the same page as to what the decision and the comments should be. Because what we don't, in the past, and this is the old way of doing it, it's not under this new state procedures, I would review them, and there would be a sheet of paper that would say, these are the comments. We want, you're going to replace the piles in kind. We'd prefer if you did it, or can you do it during the time that the water levels are reduced? Right, there we go. And we would, or we do not approve this. So, but I think what we ought to do is just bring in and talk about them as a commission, and then see how people feel about having either Deb or me sign them.
For the time being, to move the document forward, do you want me to just remove any piece in there that says the chair can sign on behalf of the commission, just because it's an area of contention, and until it becomes an issue where there's an overflow problem, and you guys are having an issue where those permits taking up too much time,
Let's leave it the way, well,
revisit that and incorporate that language into this, or,
Do we vote on acceptance of this or not?
I mean, yeah, once it's made, like, this is just draft one, so,
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone wants to vote and just in a general sense of yay or nay on accepting it, but it's not today was kind of just an initial draft and to comb through it.
So,
But-
I envisioned that we would, tonight, if we had any actual changes to it, we would let Ashley know, and she could put it in like the draft notes, potential change as of discussion of February 19th or whatever day it is. I would send this on to Barbara Richter. She'd have a couple days to look it over and get her notes back to us. And then at the next meeting, we would talk about, that was what I envisioned. I don't know if that's possible.
okay, so I'm not sure I understood, but we have these areas that are marked in red that are comments that we need to address these,
And
or pink, whatever
Those
that
are
is.
just, those are my comments that
Right.
I've made as I've been doing it, but anyone can comment on any of it. I mean, this isn't the first time you've seen it, but this would be the first time that, so.
And tonight, we've had more comments that I was thinking Ashley could incorporate with a comment
Sure.
made as of
Yeah. I think
February
that's good.
19th.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's give her the most up-to-date version, but, let's not delete this about the chairperson,
I wasn't asked, yeah, I didn't think.
you know, leave it in, but leave it as something that needs to be discussed. And, you know, maybe so Ashley sends the thing to Barbara, ask her to pay a particular attention to the following things, so that she gives us her comments. Because some of these in pink, you know, Barbara can certainly give us comments, but they're not as critical to our discussion as other things are. So we would
Right.
would help direct Barbara so that she didn't.
And Barbara may not have any comment based on, you know, the content of the different items we have issues with. She may just, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So as I said, she has looked at several of these over the recent past and said she would be glad to look ours over.
Okay.
So she has seen several other commissions doing something similar?
They're not necessarily rules of administrative procedure, but some sort of guideline, she said that she's talked with them about. I'm sorry, Mike.
And just a question if any of it needs to be reviewed by our legal counsel. Like,
Yeah, there's certain comments in here that
I
I've
saw-
made
I saw
I'm like,
that
I wanna
and-
get this, I wanna get it vetted,
so while you're doing that, you could ask,
Barbara, to look at it and ask legal.
yeah. Pardon me
Working
for a
with me
moment.
on that.
Okay. So I just,
Go ahead.
okay, I just wanted to talk about page 5, or section 5, Roman numeral 5, quorum. And now we have a quorum of, is 4. And if Dick is not going to be able to serve any longer, and Wes is really busy, and Marnie travels a lot, that means the 4 of us have to be here every single meeting. So my thought was that we change from 4 to 3 by changing the number of members from 7 to 5. And that would be Marnie, the 4 of us, and Wes, so we'd have 6. We're not gonna exclude anybody.
Well, it means somebody automatically becomes an alternate. If you officially only have 5 members, one of those that are currently a full member will become an alternate.
I think
Correct.
that's a small number,
What, 3?
yeah, and 5.
Okay,
I don't think we should limit it to anything less than 7. I mean, I don't know typical size of a commission, but
Well, the other thing that might help take the workload off of needing 4 for quorum is the comment above that does say, do you guys want to make it so it's 1 meeting a month? The second meeting is kind of like a placeholder. If there's an application that comes in that needs review, yes, there will be a meeting. If there's nothing that comes in, then perhaps there is no meeting. Which obviously that we need to know ahead of time. You can't just willy-nilly.
for a while, I thought we were saving the second meeting of the month as a work session.
Right, and that's what it was shown as on the calendar, but as you guys were operating and having meetings, it was not actually being conducted as a work session. It was
Right.
being conducted as a regular meeting because applications were being discussed. Applicants were coming and
Right.
presenting. If you're gonna have a work session.
Then there are
then
no
you have a
applicants.
Work session, and they do not come and discuss the application. But this would give the flexibility to see those applications that need to be seen if they are held to that time constraint.
Right.
So more of like an as-needed basis second time, like second meeting of the month. if that's a route you guys wanna go.
The only thing I'm concerned about with one meeting a month is, isn't that what the planning board does? And their meetings can go like 4 hours. That's my only concern.
You lose Marnie after 1.5, so.
Okay, so I don't know whether this under Robert's Rules of Order or what, but if we do not have a quorum, can we make it a work session?
You would have to notice it ahead of time.
Because you'd
Work
have,
sessions, you're not voting,
Right.
so technically you don't need quorum, but you can't just show up for a regular meeting, not have quorum, and say, we're gonna have a work session.
right,
You have to have that notice like ahead of time, that the
Yeah.
purpose of this meeting, it's the legality behind it.
Okay, so who sets that condition? Is that Robert's Rules of Order? Is
I
that a
think that's
city?
the state RSA. For right to know law. Which is in here later.
Okay, so if we have a work session and there are members of the public here,
It can be here.
it's a public meeting.
Meeting, yeah.
It just was not designed, that particular meeting was not scheduled to be a work session. It was scheduled to be a,
I think you have more flexibility if you call it a regular meeting
right,
and you have the regular meeting because you wanna discuss regular meeting things that you guys discuss
And you can vote.
very often, versus if you say it's a work session, you're constrained to only, you can't have applicants coming in
And you can't,
to discuss that. So if you say it's a regular meeting, there's more flexibility.
I don't,
If they don't show up or they don't
Making
come,
a
then
yeah, I don't think you can vote at a work session either.
no, you
can
can't.
no,
And we don't take notes.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Ashley doesn't take notes or record the meeting.
you can call work sessions as needed too. If you guys wanna have a meeting before now and
Eh.
in 2 weeks from now, you could say, well, we wanna have a work session. It just has to be, you can have meetings as often as you want. It just needs to be properly noticed. I need to have postings
Even if
and
it's
I
a
have
work
to put it in
session.
2 places and,
How many days ahead? Is it 5?
so I believe the reg is, it just needs to be posted for 48 hours prior, because this isn't a public input really, like, opportunity, because there's no, the members of the public aren't being, like, abutters aren't being noticed over applications to come in and then discuss them, you know, so.
Okay, so how much in advance of our meetings do you know that there's going to be a quorum? You, because you send out an email saying,
Hopefully by
please.
the Friday.
well,
I start blowing up people's phones and their emails if I haven't heard from them,
and hopefully.
which I
won't go
apologize
home
for, but normally,
and forget.
this past week I said Friday at noon, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Friday morning at 9, I was calling and texting people and emailing, trying to get answers, so
Or I forget and go
Because-
home.
you can, I could cancel, if one of the 4 of you called 2 hours before the meeting tonight, I would know we don't have quorum, and I would cancel the meeting. I wouldn't make you go, the 3 of you come here, keep the meeting, and then say, oh, I heard from Dean 2 hours ago. So, the thing is, it's more of a courtesy to
Right.
each other and the applicants and myself, that
Yourself.
the more notice, the better type deal.
Right.
So what is it right now? We can have up to 7, or do we have 7,
You can have between 3 and 7 members.
right? And
But a
so
quorum is
of,
50,
Majority.
is more than 50%.
Right.
So we have to have 4 people to have a quorum. So right now, it says we will have 7 people on the commission, which means the quorum is 4. So,
we could have up to 7 is what it says.
right,
Does it say what number we do have?
We have 7 currently, but you can, the local ordinance says up to 7, the state RSA says 3 to 7.
of responsibility for
Hmm?
3 people.
What?
That's a lot of responsibility for 3 people. I mean, that's not a
I
very,
mean, think of like small towns
I
too,
guess,
that just
yeah.
don't have the
Right.
capacity to have, I live in Canterbury where there's 2,000 people.
right, okay,
I don't think their board is 7 members.
see that,
Might
yeah.
be.
right.
Okay, so we have 1 member that's not gonna be able to participate, so we only have 6 members now.
Or you have a vacancy.
Well, okay, same thing.
So I think you guys would need to vote on whether to fill the position or to make it a 6-member board.
Or to
At
make
the
it a
same
5-member board.
Or a 5-member board. Basically, we wanna have a picture of what you guys want the board to look like and bring that to council.
Well, the 5-member board means that, I'm sorry, that's your, do you want to finish?
I think I was good.
I'm sorry. So the problem, Mike, with the 5-member board, though, is that the quorum is then 3, and that's what Deb was saying, that's not comfortable.
So if we have 6 members on the board,
You still need 4.
still need 4.
If you have 7, you need 4. You have 6, you need 4. If you have 5.
3.
If you have,
But then you would hope if you had 5, it just makes your quorum less. You still have the full ability to have that 5, so it shouldn't just be pressing on 3 people.
And then, what about guests, people? I mean, I was a guest. I used to come to the board meetings before I was on the board. Why did I do that?
It was for the humor.
Yeah, I guess that was it. But,
yeah, so that's in here. You guys are allowed to have guests, like a.
But they don't
an
get to vote.
advisor
Right,
from planning
right,
board.
yeah, I didn't
Right.
vote.
Yeah, they're an advisory member to the board.
Okay, so what if we did this? What if we, as the 6 members, we all make a commitment to let you know by Friday whether we're gonna be at the meeting or not. If we all do that, then you will have the capability to send a text to everybody saying, we are not gonna have a quorum. Do you wanna have a work session instead?
Yeah, if I know by Friday.
So if we all make a commitment to let you know by Friday, so that you have an opportunity to change it from a meeting to a work session. That's really what we're talking about, right?
I guess.
I mean, is that what we're?
It's either that or someone, if,
I think I would have to change sorry to interrupt, but I think I would have to change the schedule that we put out too,
Uh.
for the year, because that's not a confirmed
right,
meeting anymore. There's a schedule for the year, that's regular meetings, and it's the twice a month.
So can't we just leave it at 7 and carry a
Yeah.
vacancy?
Right now.
Oh,
And
yeah, we
especially
can,
'cause
but that's,
he didn't ask to be taken off the board, right?
no, he said he wouldn't be able to attend.
Right, but he didn't
right.
ask to be taken off.
No,
I wouldn't wanna do that.
no, I absolutely do not wanna do that. Okay, so all I'm saying is, okay, given that a quorum is 4, and there are 4 of us here, and we are the most reliable 4 or not reliable. We are the 4 that come most frequently. Let's just make a commitment to Ashley that we will let her know by Friday if we're able to make it.
I always have good intentions.
That's right. But, I mean, everybody could get sick between Friday and Wednesday, who knows? But
Yeah.
if we make a commitment to let Ashley know, so that if we know in advance that we're not gonna have a quorum,
I'll just confirm with Dean what we would need to do, and that process would be okay, because basically, since there's already a schedule of regular meetings, and you're saying if there's no quorum for the regular meeting, that it would be a work session, so I would have to notice that the regular meeting's canceled,
Right.
but there's now
For lack
a
of-
work
for lack of
session,
quorum,
right,
and-
and now it's a work session. So I just wanna make sure that
That's good. Like,
Yeah.
That's kosher.
I think that's
double
good.
check with him.
That's good.
Cause I know it has to be noticed, can you put them on the same dates? Doesn't say anything that you can't.
How long is Dick's term as it stands?
All terms are 3 years, I believe.
And just when's his anniversary date?
That would be. Let me check.
I feel like he just did his like last year, maybe this past year.
It says that his term ended in 2020. So did he? He re-upped? Oh, I gotta change those dates too. I know Lisa, you re-upped too.
Yeah, I did.
I don't know if he had a chance to this year.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it ended in 2020, get a month on that.
Aren't they all in August or something? Or?
Dean's due to re-up this year. Same with Marty.
Run, Dean.
I'm asking for a pay raise.
We'll double it.
That's
We'll
what
double
I'm
it.
afraid you double it. I don't know if I can afford the taxes on that.
One other thing I see in this purpose and intent,
What page are you on?
3. The purpose and intent of the commission. Do we want to add anything in there about educating and providing information to our citizens, or? There's not one,
That's what,
I can hear
yeah,
about
I had put in
educate.
more areas of interest. That's what I had, so I didn't know if we,
Yeah, that's up to you. I would think you could certainly add more. I'll just have to note that this section is just copy and paste 36. I tried not to do that everywhere. I noticed when I was using, I was looking at Belmont's, and they seem to do that quite a bit, is just like post a whole RSA, and it just like gets really convoluted and ugh. So I tried to just reference it and keep it short and sweet, and then incorporate some of our own language or whatever language was applicable. But you can certainly add more. You can always make regulations and requirements more detailed and more restrictive, but you can't do less. You can't say, no, we don't want to keep an index of marshlands anymore. We're not doing it. So that's number 3.
so maybe we come up with, for the next meeting, we come up with suggested items to go into that. Well,
Wow, I turned this off.
you hippie.
I'll call you back in a few minutes, okay? I'm in a meeting. Okay? All right, bye. What? Yeah, really, that was the reaction to that. What? Okay, so. Does Ashley have the comments that we want to have included in this? And when you put them in, do they come out as pink?
You can change the comment color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, each.
Just so that we
technically,
can make these comments a separate color from pink.
all.
They're
what's wrong
also,
with pink?
they're also
Nothing.
listed though, but when she puts it in, like if she puts in, right now they're AR1, I think if you put in a new set, it will be AR2 or something like that.
No, it should get AR 1
They're
through
just
10.
numbered.
They're just numbered that way, 'cause
Yeah.
Oh.
then it goes 2, 3.
That's just Ashley.
I just, I wanted to be able to distinguish between these comments and the new comments, that's why
Well, that's why I said make
pink
it
is,
by
pink
date.
is okay.
I said put as of the date.
Yeah, I'll either put a date or like a person who
Yeah.
suggested it, but so as far as I have on my notes, a lot of these things are still kind of open items that you guys wanna keep discussing as far as quorum, how many members, whether or not the chair has the designee and ability to sign applications. I have the note for adding items on section 2 under purpose and intent, and changing the month under organization, section 3.
I will mark,
January.
I'll mark mine up on the computer. I can't do it till Friday, but I'll mark mine up on the computer and send it to you.
Okay, yeah, if anyone wants to do that too, I know how to merge documents and like, so if you just comment directly on it and track your changes.
Yep.
I can merge the two.
Okay, so this says there are 23 pages.
It's not. So the reason why it's 23 pages or 33 is that I attached,
Right, other information before.
Like we had discussed, I attached
Right.
the local ordinances that are referenced as well as the state RSAs, and the lengthy one is the right to know law. So in the event that you guys wanna have a non-public session or, yeah, it's just protocols for
Okay.
meeting criteria, so
It's,
rather than having to pull out the book or go online and find it, we could reference it when needed.
Okay.
so if we can get everything to Ashley by the end of Friday, if I wanted to send it to Barbara Richter on Tuesday, is that reasonable, or?
Why don't we let Ashley send it to her? To Barbara? Well, I guess it doesn't make
I
it,
can
whatever.
send it and just CC.
Yeah, we could let Ashley do it. I just was trying to be helpful. I don't care. She wanted to.
Okay, so let's get our comments to Ashley by Friday.
And I'll send it to Barb on Tuesday. Just one correction to the agenda, now that I noticed it, was that other business is after adjournment, which is not right. I don't know why it's there, so just, yeah.
That's because we don't want to hear any other business.
It's auto-populated that way, I don't know why. Normally I catch it and I move it like every single time. It slipped by me this week.
Right. So, staff report?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Other business?
Did you have something else you wanted to add?
But I can't remember.
Oh.
Yeah, I did. Didn't I say I was gonna?
Yeah, it was, when were we talking, that, around World Water Day? Did it have to do something?
I should have written a note here. What is it? I don't remember now.
I can say that I got an email from New Hampshire Lakes that we can apply for a Lake Host grant if we want to.
I got one
Did you get one for Winnisquam? I didn't look at it to see if it said anything about what was. We're laughing because we got the grants last year and we didn't fulfill all of our responsibilities for in kind. So it's like,
They may not give it again because you didn't,
well, or
You
we
didn't
won't, maybe
purchase.
we won't get as much, or maybe, yeah, I don't know. Did you owe money? Did Winnisquam owe money?
I don't know, because it's crazy.
Because you didn't take care of that part.
No, well, yeah, because it went to Lisa Eggleston.
Right.
I don't know. I think maybe we owed a couple $100.
Right.
I remembered.
Good.
So I'll do some more research on that, but we may want to think about it hard this year because it's just, and I don't mind doing it, but it falls kind of on me
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's only as good as the people that we can hire, which is hard to do sometimes. Last year I had a great girl, but
she's gone.
I don't know if she'll be back because she graduated from college, so. but still, we didn't have as much in-kind as we should have, so.
And I did the fish and game ramp on Winnisquam, and it was,
Yeah.
it was difficult.
Yeah.
Just like Deb said, to get people to do it.
And that's a very busy ramp.
That's a crazy ramp.
And,
If-
and we obviously should have people there and doing, at least educating people. It's just, it is a lot of work. And people maybe not, they don't realize it quite so much, but
Right, especially,
I mean,
young kids.
how many boats did you have last year?
I think it was 450,
450?
yeah. I mean, that's just a guess, I couldn't even tell you. I know you had buku.
I think I think it's a worthwhile. Did you have any saves?
I think we had one.
Didn't just kick the wall.
I think we had one, but it was just milfoil. It wasn't like earth shattering. So
Okay. All right, I think it's something we should think about.
I think it should,
Want me to add it to the agenda next meeting?
sure.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Sure.
bring up? So we had the discussion, and when we were talking about the condos, that are gonna be in
At Barton.
Barton's,
Mhm.
I don't know what it's gonna be called, but yeah. So, yes, and I think Ashley discovered or found evidence, somewhere that, yes, the drainage that goes into those storm drains does go into Black Brook. So I don't know at some point if we want, I don't know that we're doing any water testing on Black Brook. If we wanna start like a baseline of conductivity or something now, and then, I mean, not that I'm targeting that one development, but I'm just saying, that's where it's going. It's not, and if they're,
We used to
if-
test at the bridge there,
well,
but maybe we need to be further up.
well, if what they're saying is we're gonna be relying on existing drainage, but they've lessened the amount of pervious surface, then there's going to be more draining into that storm drain and into Black Brook, which is gonna add to the whole conductivity of that flow, which is heavily impacted anyway. That's why I'm saying I'm not like, that development,
Right,
but
right.
it gives us an indication.
Maybe difficult too with 1212 being right there and doing their own development.
You talking about
Property that directly abuts
Mhm.
Blackbrook is under construction.
you
They
talking about
haven't built the second house yet.
okay, the two condos at the end by
Yeah.
Spinnaker, yeah. Yeah, that's why I was saying I wasn't trying to make it just because they're building this one site, it's all their fault, but just,
Yeah.
yes,
But
now,
but if we tested further up the
Yeah.
stream,
I mean, I think that
closer
that's,
to that output, but.
yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think Black Brook is one of the tributaries of Paugus Bay, and it is up gradient, just up gradient of the drinking water intake. So if there was any tributary that we should be most concerned about, it would be the one that is the closest to the drinking water, because it's, it doesn't get a lot of opportunity to dilute, even though dilution is not the solution to pollution. So I think adding Black Brook, and we used to sample, we used to do shallow water samples right outside the outfall to Black Brook
Oh, we
in
do.
Paugus Bay.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of when I go out in August.
so that might be interesting, to get an upstream and then a outfall.
I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what we need to do, is we need to, you go up, that's how you figure out
Yeah.
who's giving you contamination.
Well, or where you need to,
Okay,
Put it on the radar. We gotta
Yep.
probably start thinking about getting everything we need for doing foot samples.
yep,
Once the weather starts, it's starting to be 40, so,
gonna be 40?
He said
Yeah,
it's
this
starting to
weekend.
be.
this
But
weekend.
not
yeah.
tonight.
Summers are
No,
flashing.
not tonight. I'm going to, not as a Conservation Commission member, but as myself, I sent a letter to the mayor via email commenting on, and the only reason why I'm telling you this is if it comes back to you, was doing it as my own personal self. I didn't list myself as a Conservation Commission member. Commenting on the article in the Laconia Daily Sun about pulling together a business roundtable. And I made the suggestion, much as we did to the state, to the committee that's developing the state school property, that I think to have just business leaders on his roundtable,
It's a disservice.
well, that there should be somebody there representing the environmental community, even if it's a green business, I mean, a green industry person. And potentially someone who is up on green industry trends or those types of trends from the New Hampshire Planning Association. But I did send that just as an email, it wasn't an open letter. I sent it to him and I signed it as myself, so if it comes back or anything, it's
Okay.
like, no, it was Lisa put it as herself.
I think that's an excellent idea. And I think, you know, and I keep going back to the Walmart expansion project, that we got in too late on that because there were things that the developer could have done that would have made that a much more appealing project and a better project environmentally. And to, so I think it's an excellent idea. Okay, anybody have any other business?
Sorry to backpedal, but I did remember that, Rich Tilton came in, so I was able to meet him.
Oh, nice.
And he'll probably come sometime in April just to give everyone a overview of what's gonna be happening this year. But the grant from DES was approximately 23,000 and some change for treatment this year, was approved by city council,
Nice.
and that paperwork was sent off late last week, so should have everything squared away. It'll be a combination of herbicide with Priscilla core being the main component, and then Dash. It'll be AB Aquatics doing the Dash work and Solitude doing the herbicide.
And the same contractors are gonna work in Winnisquam. And the city council is gonna financially support the work in Winnisquam also. But I don't know about Opeachy. I don't even know, Suzanne Pearly was coordinating that, and I don't know whether she still is or not.
I haven't heard any.
I haven't seen her in a while now.
Doesn't Dean know if Opeachy was included in the budget? Scott told me that, Scott Myers told me that the city budget included milfoil money.
Yes, there's a separate line item for milfoil. I don't think it directly breaks up which water body gets how much. But there is a separate budget that the council approves every year dedicated for milfoil, so that'll be used. The grant from DES doesn't cover all of the cost for the treatment this year, so the remaining funds would be coming from the city.
Was it treated last year? No, 2 years ago. 2 summers ago?
What?
Opeachy.
I don't know.
Can you check on
Yeah.
that, when it was last treated?
And see if
Thank you,
see if
please.
they're gonna do it again this year. Please.
And, Rusty Bertholet's property off Hilliard Road also went before council for first reading, and it was, accepted for the first reading, so the next council meeting.
Monday.
I believe it's the 24th.
Right,
yep,
it is.
Is for the second reading and for them to vote on accepting.
Oh, so that was just accepting the
Yeah,
concept.
acknowledging the
Right, I
item
get
just
it.
before the council and.
And the 24th is the public hearing.
Gotcha.
So my plan is to go to that.
And that's all I had. Sorry to backtrack.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Anything else? Anybody wanna make a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
So Mike, I like the nifty home, oh, I put it over there.
Yeah.
I like the nifty home split there.
Yeah, that's,